Good day, everyone. My topic is Women's and the Law. Introduction. The 1987 Constitution. In 1986, the Philippines is known for its very liberal and progressive constitution that was formulated during the euphoria of People Power Revolution. In Article 2, Section 14 of the 1987 Constitution, the state recognized the role of women in nation building and shall ensure the fundamental equality before the law of women and men. Article 13, Section 14 specifically mentioned that the state shall protect working women by providing safe and healthful working conditions, taking into account their maternal functions, and such facilities and opportunities that will enhance their welfare and enable them to realize their full potential in the service of the nation. National programs. Based on the Philippine law stated, a myriad of projects, initiatives, and processes on the gender challenges arose. This includes the following: Philippine Plan for Gender Responsive Development 1995-2025, the National Plan for Women that consolidates the action commitments of the Philippines during the Beijing World Conference on Women. In the Fourth World Conference on Women, Action for Equality, Development, and Peace was the name given for a conference convened by United Nations during September 4 to 15 in 1995 in Beijing, China. Gender and Development Budget. Institutionalizing gender concerns in the mainstream development process and agenda and not just peripheral programs and projects of the government. To support with actual resources the implementation of programs and projects on the ground, focus on gender advocacy and commitment in empowerment. In implementation of the development programs and policies of government also means women for taking a role in governance. In stakeholders' development process, women have the right to maximize their involvement in governance, be it at the local or national level. Framework Plan for Women. This is part of the Philippine Plan for Women developed to focus on three thrusts, namely, promoting women's economic empowerment, advance and protect women rights, and promote gender-responsive governance. At the present, this plan identifies the concrete gender issues that will be addressed, pinpoint targets and indicators, name programs, formulates the implementation plan, and set up tools for monitoring and evaluation. Women's right to participate. In 1937, women's right to vote granted. So, gina-allow na nila or gina-counted na nila ang mga votes sa mga babae. In 1935, stipulated that the right of suffrage would be extended to women. O ginastate na nila na naanay rights ang mga babae to vote in political elections. 300,000 women voted in its favor during a national plebiscite. June 1905, this consolidated the emerging women's movement and brought to the fore the activism of such women as Concepcion Felix de Calderon, who formed the Association Feminista Filipina. So some performers are Rosa Sevilla de Alvero and Young Trinidad Almeida, Miss Constancia Poblete, founder of Liga Femenina de la Paz, Pora Villanueva Calao, and Paz Mendoza Guazon. Pilar Hidalgo Lame is the president of National Federation of Women's Clubs. Josefa Lanes Escoda is the president of the Girl Scout of the Philippines or Ugnayan ng Kababaihan sa Politika 1998. In Manila, the General Council of Women was then established to direct the plebiscite campaign. 4,725 women voted yes in the 1937 plebiscite. 44,307 women voted against the provision. At present, women's right to vote and participate are maintained and for their protected by existing laws at hand. Women's involvement in civil society. Women's expressions of involvement in civil society could be through organizing along gender-specific issues and formation of all women groups within broad coalitions as power-enhancing mechanisms. There are some groups such as Filipina Feminista Movement, the militant Gabriela Women's Group, the Ugnayan ng Kababaihan sa Politika or UKP Network of Women in Politics, the Kilos Kabaro or Act Sisters Coalition, Cebu Legislative Network have trailblazed women advocacies both in policies and in legislations. There also exists a so-called Philippine NGO Beijing Scoreboard, which evolved from the National Steering Committee or NSC of NGOs for the United Nations Fourth World Conference on Women, and this led in the national monitoring of the government's implementation of the Beijing Platforms for Action. Along with other women groups and gender-oriented institutions, they have succeeded in raising gender-specific issues such as domestic violence, prostitution, reproductive health, sexual harassment, or rape. In 1995, intense lobbying efforts by women's groups resulted in the passage of several landmarks. Among them is the Anti-Sexual Harassment. In 1997, the Anti-Rape Act. The gains of the women's movement are basically achieved through various partnerships with the rest of the civil society. The Philippine educational system is a combination of public and private institutions, with the state providing free education for elementary and secondary levels. The Constitution provides that without limiting the natural rights of parents to rear their children, elementary education is compulsory for all children of school age. There is no general discrimination of girls in education. Thus, there is no marked differences existing in the educational status of Filipino women and men. One glaring issue is the gender stereotype of fields of study and specialization, and its onward translation into the world of work, where men generally occupy the highest occupational ranks and the highest paying position. Women's larger responsibility for housework and for the family impedes their ability to use their educational training and skills for remunerative work. Various laws promoting gender equality. The legal framework provided for by the 1987 Constitution resulted to various legislations promoting gender equality. First, Local Government Code of 1991 provides for the election of sectoral representation, including women in local legislative councils. Next is Party List Law, provides for the creation of women-oriented or women-based parties to compete under the party list system. Next is Labor Code 1989. covers issues such as right to work prohibition, specific that employers must provide physically facilities for women, prohibition of discrimination against women in respect to terms and conditions of employment, and prohibition of discrimination by reason of marriage of a woman worker. Next is Women in Nation Building Law. Republic Act 7192 or 1991 is an act promoting the integration of women as full and equal partners of men in development and nation building. The law provides that a substantial portion of government resources be utilized to support programs and activities for women. 1988 Comprehensive Agrarian Reform Law give Filipino women the right to own land that previously reverted to sons and other male family members. Next is Republic Act 7688 or 1994, an act giving representation to women in Social Security Commission. Next is Anti-Sexual Harassment Law or Republic Act 7877 or 1995, an act declaring sexual harassment to be unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment. Next is Republic Act 7822 or 1995, an act providing assistance to women engaging in macro and cottage business enterprises. Next is Republic Act 8353 or 1997, an act expanding the definition of the crime of rape, reclassifying the same as a crime against persons. These laws not only promote gender equality but also gives protection to women's rights and enhance women empowerment. Women's rights and women empowerment are very important to the Philippine society as this ensures inclusive growth and development of our country.